Good afternoon. This is RCB News, and I am Ryan Bowling. I want to get right down to the news at hand. I'm going to be reading a small portion of an article that I read out of the Epoch Times in reference to a law that was initiated in Texas. The title of this article is Appeals Court Panel Leaves Texas Abortion Law in Place. And it says an appeals court panel on Friday opted to leave the new Texas law banning most abortions in place for now in the latest decision of its kind. Abortion providers sued in July, arguing Texas Senate Bill 8, which went into effect September 1st, is unconstitutional and should be blocked from enforcement. The law bans abortions done without an attempt to detect a fetal heartbeat and bars abortions outside of medical emergencies if a heartbeat is detected. And I'm just going to read that portion of the article right there. I'm going to read the rest. I'm going to put a link or try to put a link into the description box, and you can read that on your own. But I just wanted to give my spin on that. I want to first of all ask a question. If abortion isn't a big deal, if it isn't a matter of morality or right and wrong, why are progressive socialist Democrats pushing to get it enacted? Why is there so much push for this? If it's not a matter of right or wrong, why are they trying to push it? Now, I'm going to read something to you guys that really shook me. I had purchased the book back in 2010. This is years before I started getting into politics. Back in 2010, I purchased the book by the very popular Mark Dice. You all know him. And the title of this book is The New World Order. Facts or Fiction. Great book, by the way, written by Mark Dice back in 2010. And there is a chapter in this book that deals specifically with population control. Now, some of you may be familiar with this whole concept of population control, and you may be asking yourself a question. What does population control have to do with abortion? Well, in this particular chapter, according to Mark Dice's research, that I'm going to quote some of the individuals, and hope this video don't get censored, is that perhaps the whole push for abortion is to reduce the amount of people on this earth and in America, in particular. Population reduction. There are some people that really honestly believe that there are too many people on earth and that we need to do something about this, and that abortion is part of the answer. It's not the only answer, but according to these proponents of population reduction, part of the answer is getting people to agree and support abortion. Because once again, why is there such a push for this? Why is it really all about a woman's right to her body? As I said in the previous video, I don't once believe that it's about a woman's right over her body, because when you abort that baby, you're not aborting your body, you're aborting the doctor is aborting that baby. The woman is going to be perfectly fine. It's the baby's body that they're aborting. And how do they do that? You all know the process by which they initiate to abort these babies. It varies, but some of these forms of how they abort these babies are extremely brutal. A tube through the head, I think it's through and I think I mentioned this in a previous video, they stick a tube in the base of the baby's head and they drain the brains out of the baby's head. Really? That is horrible. Or they stick some type of a device in the woman's private area, and they tear the baby limb from limb. That was one particular method I heard about, and I think there's a few other methods that are very brutal. But really, this is the methods that they use to abort these babies. So to say that this is not a moral issue, to me, as far as I'm concerned, is ludicrous. And I want to read a portion out of this book in reference to the idea that the push for abortion, in part, could be to reduce the population of this earth. Because, before I read this, We all know that in 1973, abortion was made legal in the United States. It was made law. Now, from 1973 to now, according to some sources, over 60 million babies were aborted. Let me add something else to that. The highest rate of, and I know some people are thinking, well, you're always picking on the black people. Well, there's a reason for that. I'm not picking on them. I'm black myself. But the highest rate of abortion of all ethnic groups in America is blacks, because out of that 60 million, over 14 million to 20 million, I believe. Let me correct that correct. I don't think 14 million. I think 20 million, according to this source, over 20 million babies have been aborted in the black community. They have the highest rate of abortion. And once again, this gets back into Margaret Sanger and so forth, but that's going to be another video about how she created the first Planned Parenthood and placed most of those Planned Parenthoods, those clinics, in minority neighborhoods. And one has to wonder why. Well, the reason she did that was because she hated all minorities, blacks in particular, and believed that there was a scourge on this earth, and believed that if black people had babies, there was only babies that were only increasing their ignorance. So one of the ways to get rid of them was to have them aborted. But that's a whole nother story, and I'm digressing. I want to read this portion out of this book here. This was in reference to Nancy Pelosi. Okay, this is something she said about the justification of abortion. Now, this really kind of disturbed me. Now, according to Mark Dice, this is on page 136, and the title of this heading, the heading of this study is called "Abortions Are Good for the Economy." Abortions are good for the economy. Now, listen to what Nancy Pelosi says here. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi was interviewed on NBC's Meet the Press, where she explained why she appropriated hundreds of millions of dollars to expand Planned Parenthood and similar services as part of an economic stimulus package. Now, of course, we know this is Mark Dice's words here, but he goes on to say, a brief transcript of this encounter follows. Now I'm going to give you the actual words of Nancy Pelosi and the person that was interviewing her. Mark Dice wrote down here. The interviewer says, hundreds of millions of dollars to expand family planning services. How is that stimulus? And this is what Nancy Pelosi said. Well, the family planning services reduces costs. They reduce costs. Let me read that again. Well, the family planning services reduce costs. They reduce costs. To her, it's all about money. She goes on to say, the states are in terrible fiscal budget crisis now. And part of what we do for children's health, education, and some of those elements are to help the state meet their financial needs. One of the initiatives you mentioned, the contraception will reduce costs to the states and to the federal government. And the interviewer goes on to say, so no apologies for that? And Nancy Pelosi's answer is no apologies. No, we have to deal with the consequences of the downturn in our economy. That's the end of that transcript. Can you believe that? So to her at the time, now she didn't say this now, but I'm saying this is in the past according to this Meet the Press interview, that is all about, this abortion situation is all about the economy. We have to reduce the cost. So basically, the justification in pushing for abortion is to reduce the cost on a local level, state level, and the federal level. So children in the womb of the woman is a financial thing. You know, it's a financial burden. Maybe the answer could be simply this: stop having sex with just anybody with no protection. Now listen, and I'm going to say this up front, as a Christian, I believe, that it's fornication, but that's a whole nother story. And that's not what this video is all about. This is not a religious video. The answer, I believe, on a purely human political level is that restrain yourself till you get married or use some kind of contraceptive. Because most women that get abortions out of inconvenience. not because they can't take care of the baby or any of that. It is out of inconvenience. Now, somebody may argue and say, well, what about those women that get raped? And what about those women that end up in sexual relations with family members like their uncles or fathers? In situations like that, that's the statistics state that that's a very low number, like 1% to 2%. Most of the abortions are committed by women that are just freely having sex with, just engaging in all kinds of sexual activities. And when they have the baby's an inconvenience, is in their way, so they abort the baby. In situations where it's involving incest or rape, from what I was told, they have a pill. Once the pregnancy is detected in a situation like that, they have a pill that the woman can take that could take the life of the baby. Okay, and I'm okay. I don't like abortion, but I don't agree with it. But in a situation like that, I'll make allowances. I'll make allowances in a situation like that. But it should be, in my opinion, done in a humane way, not sticking a probe in the baby's head and draining his brain out. Take a pill, and whatever the pill does, let that be the case. Okay, but that's rare. We talking about the women that have these babies out of wedlock all the time. My opinion is the best bet is to wait till you get married. But I wanted to say that on this issue of pushing for abortions and so forth. According to Nancy Pelosi, it's a fiscal situation. It's a financial thing. You know, we need to decrease the number of these. We need to, rather, increase the number of these Planned Parenthood clinics, so that basically what she's suggesting is the more Planned Parenthood clinics in whatever neighborhoods they need to be in, the more there are chances that people are going to get abortions. They get these abortions, then we won't have to spend all this money and so forth. And so, hey, it's a financial situation. So I just wanted to say that about that. I mean, if you guys have anything to say about that, please give your comments, like this video, share this video, and subscribe. It's really bad out here. It's really bad. It's really bad. But we got to keep on fighting the fight, people. We got to keep on fighting the fight. But I'll see you guys again on RCB News. You have a good day and enjoy the rest of your time.